When you think of Soviet or Russian weaponry, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Most likely it's going to be the AK family. This group of weapons was born into the world in 1945, the year World War II ended, and by 1948 the weapon known to most people, the AK-47, was adopted into the Soviet Union Army. Many variants have since been created from the original, and today on Through the Ages, we're going to look at the ones that made it onto the battlefield. As always, we'll be looking at Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, but we'll also dive into Battlefield Hardline today as well. This is something you guys have been commenting about for a long time as why I don't include it, but today there are a few AKs in that game that I'd like to talk about. But let's start with Bad Company 2 and the AKS-74U for the Engineer class. The 74U was the fourth compact weapon to be unlocked on your progression with the Engineer class, needing 16,000 points to get your hands on it. As with all weapons in this class, it included a suppressor as standard, leading the user to stay clear of the minimap and play a more stealthy role if they want to. A 700 round rate of fire and a max damage of 16.7 means keeping this thing in close quarter zones is most likely preferable. Step anywhere outside 20 meters or so and that damage is going to drop off severely. The minimum damage you'll be doing is 11.2, and with the suppressor on there, which can't be removed, if you're going to be taking shots at long range, get ready for some serious lead time. And not to mention the recoil, which on top of the 74U's poor performance at long range, it can make it very hard to use, even in close quarters. The recoil was actually increased in a patch just after the game's release, because lots of players were using it to play long range with a class that wasn't really meant to do that. Of all the weapons in the class you can pick, the 74U has one of the longest reload times as well, so if you're caught off guard in close quarters, there might not be much you can do about it. So overall, the 74U is kind of a middling choice, and it has lots of negatives and not very many positives, but you will find plenty of people rocking it across all of the servers. Another AK weapon in Bad Company 2 is the PKM, an LMG for the support class. It's the starter weapon here, and the blueprints of it formed the PKP Pesheneg, a weapon we see in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Moving on to Battlefield 3 now actually, and we come to see the AKS-74U again in the carbine selection for the Engineer class, and we get the AK-74M, an assault rifle part of the AK-100 series, designed and produced in 1991. Being the standard weapon for the Russian forces in the game, it features its own unique war-torn camo, much the same as the M16A3 does for the US Marine faction. It's unlocked for use by the US Marines as a captured weapon at 220,000 XP gained using the assault class, and it's one of the only timed asymmetrical weapons in the game. That means you can only use it on one side until you unlock it for the other. When you compare the AK to the M16, the two starter weapons, I think it's very clear that the M16 is the better of the two, with its flat recoil, faster rate of fire and reload speed, but the AK does feel like a much better choice for longer range combat. It's got a lower first shot recoil, so if you're going to go for a long range target, you've got a better chance of landing that shot, and a slower rate of fire, just 650 rounds a minute, and that makes it much easier to control longer bursts of fire. I personally like to pair it with the Cobra Sight and the foregrip, and I think it's one of my favourite weapons in the game to use for picking off long range targets. It's probably tied with the G3A3, and the weapon sounds great as well. The AKS-74U here, the engineer weapon in Battlefield 3, is again the starter weapon for Russian engineers and operates in a very similar manner to the AK, offering greater accuracy and usability on longer range targets, but it suffers up close with its lower rate of fire, which limits its damage potential. Here in Battlefield 3, the AKs are almost universally outclassed by the AR-15 offerings that are given to the US Marines as their starter weapons, but if it's a longer range, more controlled fire that you're looking for, then both the AKS and the AK are good options for you. Time for Battlefield 4 now, and we see a major shift here in the weaponry that's offered to us, moving from the older AK series onto the new generation with the AK-12 assault rifle and the AKU-12 carbine. Let's start with the assault rifle. It's the default weapon for the class and comes equipped with the Cobra optic, laser sight and ergo grip as standard. It's geared to be a weapon that gets you used to the class and doesn't really offer you anything specific as a pure advantage over other weapons, but I'd still say it's good and competitive enough to be a good all-round rifle. Its low recoil both vertically and horizontally makes it perfect for beginners to get used to the feeling, but does start to drift slightly to the left overall. At 650 rounds a minute, it's easy to control in both medium and long range engagements, but it will leave you wanting more in close quarters where many other faster firing weapons will just simply beat it. But it does come with a burst fire option that can push the rate of fire up to 750, so there is a way to make this rifle more powerful. If you do choose to go for the burst fire option, then that means you can keep your bullets on target at longer ranges as the weapon begins to reset after each burst that you fire. The AKU-12, the carbine, mimics the assault rifle in almost every way, but it offers greater hipfire accuracy at the trade of having less range and aimed accuracy. It does feature the same increased rate of fire burst fire option as well, so again the weapon can perform very well if you know how to use it. These new AK-12 weapons though, for me, just don't possess the same presence as the older AK-47 style rifles, which for me was part of the charm of using an AK rifle. And that is where Battlefield Hardline comes in with the AKM rifle. In Hardline, the AKM is one of the more powerful automatic weapons on offer. It's not in the same league as the battle rifles, and they are extremely powerful, but it's still a very significant weapon in the game. Available for the operator class, or the assault class as you might know it, it does 36 max damage out to 30 meters, and then drops off to only 25 damage at 50 meters. This makes the AKM a very powerful rifle, dropping any player in just 4 shots. That's powerful stuff. It features some pretty severe recoil though, vertically 0.6 in total, and its first shot recoil multiplier is 3. So the first shot is going to kick up quite high, and that offsets its high damage potential. Its slow rate of fire, just 600 rounds a minute, as well, helps to keep it balanced against all of the other weapons in the game, but it does mean at long range, you've got extreme damage and a low rate of fire, so you can be very, very accurate with it. Hardline also includes the AKS-74U, which is the carbine variant of the AK-74, and that sits in the operator class as well. Hardline did always break the tried and tested Battlefield mold, and having 2 related weapons in the same class seems to be one of those breaks, but it does at least feel very different to its bigger brother, offering only a max damage of 28 out to 10 meters, and then dropping off to 14 damage at 30 meters or so. Its recoil is down, its rate of fire is up, and it favours a more close range use overall. The 2 weapons combined, for me, feel much nicer to use than the AK-12s in Battlefield 4, and again, that's purely down to the looks. The older weapon style feels so much more iconic, and I'm sure most of you will feel exactly the same. So there you go, the AK family in Battlefield. I couldn't go in depth with all of the weapons purely because this video would have been about 25 minutes long, but I hope it gave you a good insight anyway. Things return to normal on Through the Ages next week,